The big question that I have is, can we get there to having nuanced conversations with tough topics? For example, I hate the way that people talk about the Rooney Rule.
The what?
The Rooney Rule.
Okay.
So in the NFL, it's no secret that there's an issue with nepotism, and there is an issue with their hiring practices when it comes to racial equity. Do you know how I know that? Because Roger Goodell has admitted it.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. Like, do you think that Roger Goodell would say that there was an issue? Like, if there was no issue, you think he would admit fault for anything? And not only admitting fault, but literally trying to do something, because in my opinion, when we talk about the hiring practices of yesteryear as opposed to now, it had destroyed the talent pool. You just had these bums getting hired over and over. How many times has Josh McDaniels been hired? 3 times. 2 times he took the job, but he was hired 3 times.
Right.
After he went to Denver, and the first move that he made was to draft Tim Tebow. Black coaches, when they get a shot, they get 1 shot, 1 year, they're gone. They never get a shot again.
The hiring process, it's the firing process, too.
And that is the nuanced part of this.
Right.
Because the Rooney Rule has now added incentive to if you develop a candidate of color and they do good work for you and they move on to another job, you get compensatory draft picks and not a 7th round pick.
49ers keep doing it.
A 3rd round pick. Yes, the 49ers keep doing it. And you're seeing the talent pool getting better. You're seeing these hires working out. Look in the NFC North at the general managers and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Brad Holmes and Ryan Poles and the coaching hires. Like, it fluctuates. It's not perfect. I think that the nuanced conversation is sometimes a team is going to have to make a decision. They're going to have to hire who they hire. I'm not saying that there should be any preferential treatment whatsoever, because the old way was preferential treatment. What they're trying to do, it's not perfect. The question should be, how do we perfect it?
Here's the truth of it. It's what the NFC North has done. More people of color in GM positions. More people of color in ownership positions. Being able to make decisions. That's the only way. Because in the end of the day, there's Jerry Joneses and Robert Krafts and guys like that are always going to lean a certain direction, right?
Yeah.
A comfortable direction. And I know that that's like a very political way of putting it, but I don't want to put it any stronger.
I think it's fair.
Right now.
I think
But
you don't have to put it any
you,
stronger than that.
It's about
fair.
Their comfortability, and I don't see that changing unless you have more people of color in positions of actual power that can hire and fire guys. But the firing process, Alex, that's what frustrates me more than the hiring process. Like, I have gotten used to, as much as it annoys me, Leslie Frazier being an interview for every damn team in the world.
David Shaw.
One of the 2 Rooney Rule interviews out of the way. And David Shaw. Like, look at the Cowboys. They brought in Leslie Frazier and Robert Saleh. Had no intention of hiring either of them. They were always going to hire
the
Brian
Patriots.
Schottenheimer, but that's what they did. But the firing process is the worst thing ever. The firing process is disgusting. Rand Carthon, the GM for the Titans for a year and a half. What did he do that was actually fireable? Besides his ownership group thinking that they were better than they were coming off of the Vrabel era. He had to rebuild that roster, try to retool. I don't necessarily agree with every decision he made, but at the end of the day, name one thing he did that truly went wrong. And people will say Will Levis. Will Levis was a 2nd-round pick, guys. Like, they didn't have a high pick coming out of the Vrabel era. They didn't have a situation that was very desirable at the quarterback position. They didn't have capital to spend out there on the open market free agency-wise.
No, they're horrible.
Like they were just in a bad spot. So he takes Will Levis, takes a flyer on it, doesn't work out. It's a 2nd-round pick. And at least he didn't spend a top 10 pick on the damn guy. Then I would say it's fireable. It's a 2nd-round freaking. He's 33rd overall. Gerard Mayo and my guy Antonio Pierce.
Antonio Pierce, yeah.
While I don't think that they were like the best guys for the jobs that they got hired into, compared to white counterparts, brother, They got no time to do anything of substance.
They got 1 year.
They have, Gerard Mayo has a brand new quarterback, no O-line. Defense is all elsewhere. His best defensive player had blood clots, for God's sakes. Like, what do you want him to do in that particular situation off of Bill Belichick and all that he did for that franchise? And then with Antonio Pierce, again, like, I'm not saying he was the perfect hire, but, like, AOC and Gardner Minshew were his starting quarterbacks.
Yeah.
What the hell do you expect? Amir Abdullah in 2024 was getting 15 carries per game in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
What do you want the man to do? He's going to win 4 games. That's what was going to happen always. And I just think there's a level of development that white coaches absolutely get when they actually get the gig compared to black coaches. And I could go back to Steve Wilkes with the Cardinals. There's so many examples.
Byron Leftwich.
You hire Antonio Pierce and Gerard Mayo are good examples because these are first-time head coaches. What do first-time head coaches have to do? They have to develop into who they're going to be. They have to learn what to do wrong before they get it right.
Yeah,
they didn't get any time for development.
Yeah,
and that's more than the hiring process. The firing process for the black candidates is insane.
And then the lack of like that second chance. Whereas as I just said, the retreads with the white coaches is crazy. Like, for example, I'm reading an article in The Athletic in December about Byron Leftwich. I'm like, what the fuck ever happened to Byron Leftwich? Wins the Super Bowl. As the offensive coordinator, nearly gets a job in Jacksonville, becomes the fall guy for Todd Bowles and Tom Brady getting old and wanting to retire, and never gets another chance again to coach at any level. Whoa, that seems weird. But all right, good. We've accomplished our goal of having a nuanced conversation.
Correct.
About the Rooney Rule.